What's going on, guys? Today we're taking a little drive down memory lane. Carlos has put together a playlist of clips through my career, and we're gonna talk about them, talk about what I was thinking about in those moments. I don't know what these clips are. I haven't seen them yet. And cherry on top, I haven't really watched any footage from my career since retiring. 2 years ago, I watched a couple clips when I was at a semifinal, and then I think about last year, I watched a couple clips from my old Making of a Champion documentary, but other than that, I haven't watched an ounce of it. So let's jump into it.
All right, before you started, I want to read something O'Keefe said about this very first video that I thought it was interesting because it's probably something that only he knows. It was a moment Saturday night in the tennis stadium. His back was against the wall and he told me before going on the floor. You know?
Thrusters and bar muscle ups.
He said his back was against the wall and he told me before going on the floor he will either win the workout or die trying. He had fire in his eyes. He went out and attacked. It was an incredible moment. He was just figuring out what it took to be the best at that point. That workout was career defining.
Yeah, so I have to assume the clip is, I think it was 2015 CrossFit Games. What was it, 155-pound thrusters and bar muscle ups, but it wasn't a 21-15-9. It was like a 16-12-8 or something like that, some unique rep range. And that was probably one of the first times that I went into a workout recklessly, but confident, of just knowing that like, all right, I'm throwing all pacing, all strategy, everything to the wayside. I'm going as hard as I can, as long as I can, and I'm just gonna hang on. And I was very confident that doing that was good enough for a win. I knew if I strategized, I could have done the workout faster, but then it's like you're taking that 1% risk that what if somebody else can hang on to that reckless pace all the way through? So it was the one that I was like, if I put myself into a corner and the results of this workout are gonna come down to just pure effort, and no, there's not strategy, there's not planning, pacing, the workout's just gonna come down to effort, I know I'm gonna win.
You nailed it. It's that one, the triangle.
Triangle couplet, yep, that's what it was.
White shirt as Fraser is working his way back to the barbell and threatening to demolish Dan Bailey's best time. Fraser, 4 to go, the crowd in the tennis stadium coming to its feet. 1 to go for Fraser. 1 bar muscle up down. 2 are down for Matt Fraser.
I think I failed the last muscle up.
Rep for Fraser, he locks it out. And
oh no.
Strap yourselves in for an exciting final day at the 2015 Reebok CrossFit Games as Fraser takes the event.
You failed I think the fifth. You went down.
Oh, okay.
He turned this around.
Yeah.
He is in full-blown attack.
I remember that moment. Like I remember the moment O'Keefe was talking about. I'm getting choked up thinking about it. In the warm-up area, I remember I was about to walk into the corrals. He was right there. I think Bergeron was like arm reach away. And I think he said something to me. And I remember just turning to O'Keefe, you know, he's trying to hype me up, like build my confidence. And in a way I was like, no, I don't need that right now. Like I'm winning this workout. You know, there's only a couple moments like that one through my career where I was like, all right, like I want to rely on effort. I don't want strategy. I don't want to get caught up in, you know, this race between two of us. It's like, I am going and I'm just fucking hanging on for as long as I can. And I think it was this one. No, I take it back. No, it was another event. As I'm walking out on the floor that stayed with me through my whole career. So once again, it was O'Keefe and I in the back, and he was just like, hey, like, you're gonna get to 40 years old, and it's like, you've lived every day, but you're only gonna remember a handful of moments. You've won the competition, you've done what you came here to do, so take a second. Take a second to look around, make this one of those moments that you're gonna remember forever.
That being said, I think that
if it's a Fibonacci final,
well,
that story I said is why I stopped and did this. Was because it's so true. Like even think back to your 20s.
Yeah.
What do you remember April 22nd, 2015? Fuck no. You only have like these little glimpses of like memories that are vivid, that are like a fucking video that you can play in your head and you remember the smell, the detail, all that shit. And this was one of them. And it was like every competition, it's a blur. I used to tell it to every rookie that like in my later years, as soon as event one was done, I would tell them like, guys, like take in moments because the weekend's already done. It's like the lead up to event one feels like it's months long. And then the next 12 events are gonna go by in a blur because you're no longer living a week out, 2 weeks at a time. You're living, all right, next event's in 3 hours. So that's where your timeline ends. And then another 3 hours, then it's all right, now we gotta rush to get dinner, now we gotta get to sleep, then we're up first thing in the morning. And it's like, you're only looking a couple hours ahead, so the week just goes by in a blur.
2 reps left for Fraser, and all that's left is an 89-foot march. And that might be the first time I've ever seen him smile in the middle of an event. Soak it in, Matt. The most dominant performance of all time.
I had to fucking cut it off because I started crying on the floor. No, I remember that. I remember looking around, never knew where my family sat at the games, never knew where Sammy or my parents were, anything. And that was intentional. Like I don't want to know where you are. But I remember this one, my friend John McConkey was in the crowd. He would come out to the games every year. And, he had like front row seats. I knew where he was sitting. So, it was that kind of added to it of like looking around, seeing some familiar faces that I'm like, I haven't made eye contact with you the whole time that I've been here. But it's like actually taking the time to scan the crowd, seeing some familiar music, hearing the music, like, the smell, the sounds, like, you're in a stadium with a couple thousand people screaming at the top of their lungs. It's like, yeah, this isn't an opportunity that I'm going to get the rest of my life. It's like, no, this is such a rare thing, a rare opportunity, a rare experience that it's like, this is life-changing. So actually stopping and, at that point, I think I had the competition won. So, sandbagged the shit out of the first part of the workout. And then I think within 1 or 2 rounds, then got into the lead. And I was like, holy shit. Like, all right, so now I'm in the lead again. Like, all right, now I can really take my time, look around. But yeah, that was a look around the stadium. Was very intentional of like, this isn't really for right now, this is for later. I have a handful of friends that are, a couple generations above me, and like hearing them growing up, listening to my parents talk about, their pro skating career and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, stealing a line from Andy Bernard where he's like, I wish you knew you were in the good old days before you left them. I was very aware that I was in the good old days. I was like, these are the memories I hope I get to remember when I'm older. So it's like, yeah, like I'm very aware that I'm a regular fucking dude with 10,000 people screaming around me right now, cheering for me to get them. Like this is gonna end at some point. So I wanna soak this in. This is awesome, and I remember like, I wanted to take more time. Because I didn't give a fuck about that workout. Like at that point, that was me winning the games because that was the minimum work requirement. So for me, it was like, not only did I, just won the games, hit the minimum work requirement, I'm in the lead of the workout, all these things. But I was looking around and I remember getting choked up at like, I don't know what it is, happiness, pride, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And I remember getting choked up and being like, ooh, I'm still competing. Oh, get your shit together, Matt,
What was that moment?
Oh, yeah.
Fraser, back to the barbell to put the finishing touches on his championship performance. Celebration can begin for Matt Fraser.
Performance, you already know who
Alex
your
Anderson, baby.
2016 CrossFit Games champion is Matt Fraser!
Matt Fraser finally getting to share a moment with his mother and father as he wins the 2016 Reebok CrossFit Games. Finally gets the gold medal that he dreamt about winning all his life. It started out dreaming about an Olympic gold medal, but he's getting the CrossFit gold medal all week long. This kid, there was nothing that he could not do. Matt Fraser, second no more. He is the fittest man on earth. We'll hear from him when we return.
Does O'Keefe know you showed this clip?
No.
O'Keefe will have a story about this one. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to break down with this clip. You know, one, the workout itself. What was it, 21-15-9, 135-pound thrusters? Well, it might be 125, and then 3-2-1 on the pegboard. So one, going into this workout, once again, I was like, minimum work requirement. I need to do 3 pegboards and 21 thrusters, and I'm done. You know, fully capable of doing touch and go pegboards, and I'm pretty sure in the first round, all singles. I was like, because it doesn't matter why you don't hit the minimum work. Like if I'm going for a touch and go, or I'm doing 3 unbroken, and I get too fatigued and pop out and break my wrist, I'm not on the podium at the games, you know, even though I'm good enough for it. So I was very aware of that and was like, all right, that first 21 and 3, just nice and slow. So I did them nice and slow, didn't care. I was one of the last ones off the pegboard to the thrusters. But then I think I got to the first set of thrusters, and as I was walking up, I saw Ben put the bar down, like he broke up his set of 21. And I think it was then that I was kind of like, why would I not want to end on a bang? Like, let's put on a fucking show. Like, minimum work's done. I already have the competition won. I was like, let's fucking just swing for the fences and see what happens. So then I think I picked up the pace and went unbroken. But you know, like I think the excitement or like the realization that, you know, what I've been working for, I've now accomplished, even though like it wasn't official. But it's like that realization starts coming through. So then when I finished the event, it wasn't like this big like surprise. Like you see somebody that wins an event and like they're slamming their chest or they're jumping up and down. I wasn't surprised. This part's funny, like seeing my parents in the crowd. Yeah, like hug with my parents, all that stuff. But then I find Sammy. So one, this photo here where,
Oh yeah, I've seen the photo.
where I'm climbing over the wall to give Sammy a hug. Yeah, that was like my favorite photo. Still is one of my favorites, but it was like my screen background for 5-8 years, something like that. When I go from Sammy to O'Keefe, and you'll see it here, very subtle, twist of the hat, you see it there, boom. That's where he kissed me. And we were hugging, and then he mwah, like gave me a big old kiss, and I think I pulled away. I was like, I'm not okay with that. Went back in and then walked away. And then every year after the games, go in for a hug, and he's like, I don't give a fuck. But the way he tells a story, he was like such a happy moment. Like we're both just nothing but smiles and tears. And then I pulled away, just stone faced, like, I'm not okay with that. And then right back in.
Obviously, we've seen Matt winning, but before Matt winning, there was Matt finishing second, which, as you always said, second is the same as losing.
Mm-hmm. So I actually don't know if I've ever watched this. I've seen the replays, little clips.
This is like a gift for Ben Smith.
Fraser with 1 to go, and he can't walk it out. Meanwhile, Ben Smith continues to work on the rower. 1 rep for Matt Fraser, who was second last year to Rich Froning, and Fraser will have to wait at least another year before he stands on top of the podium. Fraser will wind up in 17th place in this event after he finishes 8th in this heat with a time of 6:31.61 seconds.
Oh man. So first off, there's one thing I did differently for the rest of my career, and hand to God, I don't know why I didn't change this. I like in the moment of like panic and just worry and fear, I didn't move my parallettes. So like event gets called, I'm pretty sure I don't think I ever moved them, but like it's when you're going down here and it's like the parallettes are hitting my shoulders, where typically like now it's like they're out here in a more powerful position, but like they were so tight. And then like the plexiglass wall started this high, and I remember coming out and the handles were underneath, like pushed under the wall a little bit. And so typically when I'm doing handstand push-ups on parallettes, like I'll have the parallettes flush with the wall. And then when I'm grabbing the handles, I'm grabbing so far away from the wall that my hands are almost on that corner going down. I like to be far away from the wall and a little bit wider. And I remember when I went around to them, the way they were taped, I don't know why, I was just like, oh, my hands have to be on the tape. And then like the parallettes were set, and so for some reason I was like, oh, I have to use them right where they are. So they were in way too close underneath the wall, and then they were too narrow. So from this, I knew a measurement. Like I put my elbow on one parallel, and then I wanted a couple inches off my fingertips. So you know that got implemented for every parallel handstand push-up for the rest of my life of checking the width.
What were you thinking at that moment?
I remember it like being panicked, but it's kind of hard to describe because I felt like it was out of my control. You know, it was because of my actions that I was in the situation, but then being in that moment, I wasn't capable of what I was typically capable of. So like the biggest contributor to this was my shoulders from doing Murph. Murph was just so brutal. I hit survival mode. And so I did all of my push-ups with my elbows tucked so tight into the side, doing my push-ups, that like my front delt, like just that strap of muscle was useless. Like it was done. I couldn't lift on, like it was just, there was nothing there. So it didn't matter how badly I wanted it or how badly I tried. I just didn't have the press that I knew that I used to. You know, you're incredibly frustrated, you're panicked, you're trying to go as quickly as you can, but then at the same time, it's like, I'm doing the parallel handstand push-ups how I know how to, and it's not happening. So it's kind of like, it is what it is. Nightmare scenario of like, I think it was the night prior that I willingly gave up points on heavy DT. It was hurting, I was in first place, I had a huge cushion, and then I saw somebody was right on my heels, and I was like, this hurts really bad. Fuck it, it's only 6 points, it's only 12 points, I'm up by 100. So this is the luxury of having that buffer. I get to throttle back at the finish line. Yeah, I'll lose a couple points, but now I'm more recovered than the next guy. Now I'm, you know, whatever it is. So I had put myself into a position that I didn't like. My body was so broken down that nobody could even straighten their arms. Like the amount of people that could put their arms over their head, you can count on one hand. But yeah, my shoulders were just so fucked at that point that not really anything you can do. And so I had come to terms, I'm like, Ben attacked the workout well and had a finished, and I think what he was anticipating that he was capable of. I fell way behind, but then by the time I got off the handstand push-ups, I think he was maybe still on the rower or on the bike. And so it was one of those moments that I was like, all right, well, I have second place guaranteed. There's a snowflake's chance in hell that if everything goes perfectly for me and terrible for Ben, that I can still win this thing. But I'm not gonna be in that situation unless I bury the needle now. And so I think it was on a bike. I wanna say it was an assault bike. Because one round was on the rower, one round was on the bike. And it was the round on the bike that I was just like, I know how I should do this, but if I want to have any chance of a miracle happening, I have to just go full dummy on the bike. And I went hard as fuck. I think Ben was still deadlifting, like on the tail end of his deadlifts maybe, and I was like, it could happen. Like the door is open. It hasn't been shut in my face yet. And so I go full dummy on the bike, get to the dumbbells, and I'm like, there's a chance, let's do it. And I went, Nope, no chance. Nope, Ben's got it.
A few things. First is Sean Woodland saying Matt Fraser will have to take second place again.
Yeah.
So it was the second place. What was going through your mind when the whole second place again was happening?
I mean, by the time that conversation started up of like second for a second time, I was already flirting with Sammy. So that's where my head was. Like, I mean, if we're being serious, like Sammy has the text like during the competition, me texting her and so fast forward like a couple hours, no, not even, fast forward 20 minutes after this. First thing that happens, we all leave the floor. I go in the tunnel. There's an equipment cart, like with like the ones you see on a football field, like towed behind a golf cart, like big inflatable tires, kind of looks like a grate on top. And I walked off the floor just like in disbelief of what just happened went against every image I've had in my head for the last 9 months. You know, like, oh my God, my worst nightmare just happened. So I'm laying on this cart by myself, looking at the ceiling, feeling bad, weeping a little bit. And Dan Bailey came up, kind of like picked me up. And I can't remember if it was in that moment or a couple days later when Dan and I were on a motorcycle road trip together. But he was kind of like, what are you hanging your head for? He was like, he was like, everyone out here, you just accomplished their life goal. You hit the podium at the games. And it wasn't your first time, it's the second time. You're one of the best in the world. Like for most of us, he's like, that's our end goal. And he's like, you achieved that and you're crying over it. And so it kind of gave a bit of a different perspective on it. And so I think after that, I kind of picked myself up and was like, okay, like what's done is done. I got to move on. But so under the tunnel is like a big Y. So the soccer stadium, or the tennis stadium and soccer stadium connected through the tunnels. Then there's the area that we walked all the way back. So I remember Sammy was on like an interior corner between the tennis stadium and where we had to walk back to. And she was talking to some co-workers at the time. She worked for Reebok and she worked the games. So as I was walking by, you know, I made eye contact with her. I winked at her. And then I just kept walking, and then one of her co-workers looked at her, she was like, what the fuck was that? And Sammy's like, I don't know. So now fast forward a couple hours, drug testing's done, award ceremony, all that shit. I am introverted. I am introverted as they come. I don't like parties. I don't like loud settings. Like I'm deaf, so it's like if there's any background music, I can't understand a thing going on around me. So it's just like, it's not my scene. Like I don't drink, that's all they're doing there. It's loud noises and so I'm like, it's not my thing. You guys have fun. I'm not going. We get in the truck to leave the venue. O'Keefe's driving. My friend Tyler's in the back, and it is fucking awkward. Like these two guys are sitting there like, what do we say to this kid? Like he's fucking on the edge. Like what do we say? And I think Tyler was like, so what do you boys want to do tonight? And I was like, let's swing by the after party. And then like I saw like O'Keefe look in the rearview mirror at Tyler like, yo, Matt wants to go to the after party. Like, is he gonna get drunk? Like, is he gonna cause a scene? Like, he didn't know what was gonna happen. And he's just like, this is so out of character. Like, that's the last thing either of them were expecting from me. And then we get to the after party. I walk in and Sammy was like running it, or like she was working the event. I walked in, I walk straight to her, she sees me across the room, she comes straight to me, and O'Keefe was like, oh, it's a girl, got it. So yeah, it's like, that day sucked. But I think the pain of it was more the entire following year. Like I say it all the time, that was possibly one of the worst days of my life. Well, I still made second place prize money, which is life-changing for most me. And I met my wife. To a lot of other people, that's the best day of their life. Of like, yeah, I made $100,000 and met my future wife. Like, yeah, mark it down in the history book. So I'm like, yeah, I couldn't do a couple handstand push-ups. Yeah, that sucked, but like, it worked out.
Do you think if you would have won that year?
Oh, I would have been. If I had been rewarded positively in any way from 2015, I would have rinsed and repeat. Like that entire year, like I have clips of me hitting like a PR front squat at like 11 p.m. because I would start my training at 10 p.m. Like my sleep schedule, my eating, like 2 pints of Ben and Jerry's in one night is not challenging for me. Like I'll fucking do them back to back. And at the time, Ben and Jerry's was sending me free ice cream. Like, so, you know, it was just shit like that. And it was like, it was the first time I ever had walking around money. So it's like, before it was like eating out was just not even an option. So it wasn't even on my radar. And also keep in mind, I competed in a weight class sport for my entire life. I have weighed, before I started CrossFit, I had weighed myself 2 to 3 times a day, every day for 10 years. Every meal before and after I would eat, like, or I would weigh myself and check. And like for years, I ate tuna and water, plain chicken breast and spinach because I competed at 169 pounds when I should have been 200. So then, you know, all the time, it's like you want to eat a cookie, you want to eat that Danish, you want to eat whatever, but you're like, no, gotta watch my weight. So there was definitely a period of time after my weightlifting career, as I started my CrossFit career, where I was like, I don't have to make weight. I can be whatever weight I want. And so it's like, yeah, I'm not having 1 cookie, I'm having 6, you know, shit like that. So it's like, yeah, that's the result of it.
Okay, so before you look at it, from many people I've heard that this could be the best workout ever performed or one of the best, fastest workouts ever. And O'Keefe told me the same thing.
This is one of like 2 videos I've watched since my retirement. Stage 1, Friendly Fran.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so yeah, this is one of the workouts from stage 1 of the 2020 CrossFit Games. So this is the, you know, it's been coined the COVID year. They basically ran the games, and to every athlete competing, I think it was 40 men, 40 women, they sent a pallet of equipment. So everyone had the same bumper plates, the same barbells, clips, everything. I think it was probably the first time that we had a uniform layout so that it was equal distance. There's no advantage to set up or break down or anything like that. This competition was probably the first time that I actually saw what I was capable of in comparison to other people. Because any other time I'm competing against someone, I'm next to them. So it's like, if there is a scenario where I'm in the lead, I'm watching them and I'm resting. It's like, you don't get extra points from beating them by a minute. So why put in that effort? If I can win the event on a 90% effort, of course I'm gonna do that, save my energy for the next event. But with this one, my dream scenario, nightmare scenario, where I'm just, you don't know what the other scores are. You don't know where other people are. So this is how I trained a ton. The amount of times I would visualize Katrin training next to me and like pulling away from me when I'm training by myself was endless. So that's basically what I'm doing again, of just, I'm competing scared. This is probably one of the few that it was a full effort, full speed, start to finish. And like in the moment, it's like it just kind of goes right over your head, where like Heber is making a fucking scene over it. He's like, dude, on a 4-minute workout, you beat everyone else by like 20%. Like, how? And for me, I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, I won, that's cool, whatever. It's not until like years later, looking back, and like when you see it now of somebody doing that, it's like, dude, you won the workout. You were 80% of the next guy's time. Yeah, I think it's cool, but this workout, I mean, I love it. I think the time's good. I think it'll hold up for a while. Like, somebody's going to beat it. Like, that's inevitable.
All right, the next few are photos, so you can just swipe.
Oh boy. So this has to be 2013-ish. O'Keefe still had some hair. Yeah, so red line gear head to toe. So this is how I met O'Keefe. He was originally he would have been my first sponsor with Redline gear. So like, you know, shirts, shorts, classic. Yeah, dude, nobody saw my kneecaps till like 4 years into my CrossFit career, the baggiest shorts. And what was so funny too was like all the time, O'Keefe I thought he was just trying to be super accommodating, overly nice. I'm like, hey man, you want some new shorts? We'll get you some different ones, like blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, dude, like it's fine. Like they still work, they're great. Like save the money, like sell those shorts. Don't just give them to me. And then looking back and be like, oh, he wanted me wearing different shorts because I was like, I looked like my shorts would hang down to here, these big parachute things. And then like I had like the tall black socks. So it's like, you saw like 3 inches of my shin. And anyways, this is when I started hanging around Katrin. And what's comical to me is this is a different Katrin than everyone knows today. I did not like Katrin when we first met at all. Did not like her. She didn't like me. Obviously things changed. You know, she's now one of my absolute favorite people. Rachel Martinez, one of the very first like CrossFit New England OG crew that I met. But yeah, Rachel was one of their like lead athletes on team for a handful of years. And then my rookie year to the games, she also qualified. So yeah, 2014, we both competed as individuals. And then for anyone that doesn't know, the dude, Mike Dudevoir, his name is actually, like I thought it was a joke. His last name is Dudevoir. So everyone just calls him Dude. But the most unfathomably ripped man I've ever met. I'm gonna butcher this. I wanna say he's late 40s. I don't even know. I didn't know you could have veins on your chest, but he does. Oh man. All right, college graduation.
Read the caption though. I like that photo because you mentioned hard work pays off.
That made that mantra started from college, not from CrossFit. Because my first semester at UVM, I was failing some classes and I was hopeless. Like it was one of those things like I just didn't know what to do, didn't know how to do it, didn't know how to change it, anything. So I just was like, all right, like I don't know any tricks or any efficient way of doing this. So I was like, fuck it. Even if this is the most inefficient way of doing it, it's going to get done. And that's when I just started. I would go to university and just lock myself in a cubicle and read the book for 8 hours. But yeah, so that's where hard work pays off came from. But yeah, double major, double minor. And then I think this was the couple months before the 16 games. So I was like, all right, I got a couple months of like exclusive training going through. This is my first, so technically this is my second weightlifting competition. It's my first real one. So this is school age nationals. So school age is a category in weightlifting where they divide you up by weight class and age. So anyone knows like you can take a 150 pound 15-year-old and a 150 pound 20-year-old and there's no comparison to what they can lift most of the time. So school age is just a good opportunity for the young kids to compete against kids their age and weight. So you're kind of more of an equal playing field. So I think I was competing in the 62 kilo category. So 62, 124, 130, 136 pounds. And I had done a qualifier meet, but it was just like in-house competition. So this is the first one where it's like 3 referees, you're in spandex in front of strangers. You're like, this is weird. But then funny thing about this is I won the competition, but couldn't get the medal because I wasn't American. And so from USA's point of view, you had to be a citizen of the US, but I was only a resident. I didn't have my citizenship yet. So I was US resident, but not a citizen, and America required citizenship to compete for America. Canada, you didn't need citizenship, you needed residency. So I'm like, dude, I'm a Canadian citizen, an American resident, and the rules are exact opposite. So I literally couldn't compete for either country. So for like the first couple of years of my weightlifting career, I was always just in as an extra lifter. So like I could win, like I won this competition and then like I got a participation medal and I'm like standing on the side. Yeah, I think I was probably 6 months into weightlifting The only reason I stuck around in weightlifting and in that gym was because I had a big old crush on a girl from that gym. Her name was Annie. Yeah, she was the only reason I stuck around. I was like, I was showing up expecting like a powerlifting gym and maxing out every day. And then I showed up and was handed a broomstick and told, you're gonna do this for the next month. And I couldn't even remember the difference. I'm like, they would say like, all right, we're gonna do snatches today. And I'm like, which one is that? Is that at the shoulders or overhead? You know, like that's the level I was working with. But I had a big old crush on this girl, Annie. So I stuck around, kept coming back.
There's 2 more books.
I wish I could go back to this. I wish I could talk to this kid right here. Because this moment I thought was life-changing, but it just took me down the wrong path. From this moment and sitting on the floor during that award ceremony, I would say a lot of my priorities shifted. You know, the reason I showed up was I was like, this is an opportunity and I'm here to compete, I'm here to win, I'm here to do it as best I can. And then after this, I was like, oh, you know, whether it's, you know, friendships or like this acceptance into a group or whatever it was, and that couldn't have been further from the truth. Yeah, then after the 15 games, I think it's actually still hanging in this apartment here. I got a poster that said, remember why you started. Because it was from this moment until well after the 15 games, I wasn't competing for the reason why I started. I had these new reasons that I thought were good, and it took a couple kicks in the teeth post 2015 to go back to my old mentality of like, all right, I'm gonna remember why I started, and that's why I'm here.
Can I ask you what were those reasons?
To change my life, to give myself and my family an opportunity. I have a very specific, and I've had this for a long time. I remember saying shit to my dad when I was like 12 or 13 of like my life plan. And he was like, oh yeah, like how are you gonna pull that off? And me being like, I don't know yet. I don't know, but I'll find a way. And so like originally, that original plan was like, all right, I'm gonna work in the oil fields. You know, the first job I got out there, it was triple the pay that I could make in the East Coast. It was triple the pay, but 4 times as miserable, but I didn't give a fuck about diminishing returns. Like, if it's more, I'm there for it. I don't care if it's, you get 10% more for 50% more work. All I saw was the 10% more. So I saw that as my opportunity of, you know, achieving certain life goals or standards or a quality of life that I want to provide for my family, my future family, all that stuff. You know, that started, I was like, all right, I'll be a fucking roughneck if I have to. And then it became, all right, I'll get an education. I'll come back out to the oil fields with an engineering ticket. And that's how I'll grind. That's how I'll make my mark or my start. And then I found CrossFit and I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to make my stories. But from this moment, I remember I was like, I got second place. It was Rich and then Kalipa, and then I think Josh Bridges was in 4. So I'm like, I'm sitting with a crowd that, you know, you're very proud to stand with as a brand new CrossFitter. These are the guys that I've seen on TV, and I'm right here in the mix with them. You know, I was super psyched. I mean, the big pivotal moment was not being on the invitational team. This has come up a couple times, and it was just like, that was the moment that I was like, okay, I earned that spot. You're not going to give it to me? Fine. Like, I'm not leaving, but my goals are shifting. And that's when I got that poster of like, remember why you started. Because I was so hurt. I was so sad. Like, no one even called me to explain to me like, hey, we're taking number 1 and number 3. We're just skipping you, even though you earned that spot. So I was like, okay, it's good. Let's get back to why I started. Oh boy, this one. This would have been 2008 time frame at the Olympic Training Center. It was supposed to be a rest day. My roommate was Norik Vardanian. You know, he was the number, at the time, you know, top 5 in the United States for weightlifting. He was a 94 kilo lifter, soon became the top, and then went to the Olympics to represent Armenia. If people want to see some wild shit, Norik Vardanian's father, Yuri Vardanian, Yuri or Yurik, depending on who's talking to him, greatest weightlifter to ever walk the earth. And I think he's one of the, everyone knows the Piros Dimas and those guys. Yuri Vardanian's numbers still haven't been touched. When he won the Olympics, he outlifted the 2 weight classes above him. Wrap your head around that shit. 82 kilo body weight, I think he snatched 185 and clean and jerked 232 or 242. Bro, wild shit. Did a dive clean. It's some of the most baller shit you can do in weightlifting. Is if you can pull off a dive clean, not because you're just showing off, but because that's what works for you, that's some manly shit right there. But anyway, so Norik and I went into the weight room. We were just bored out of our skulls on a rest day because there's nothing to do. And we were just like, let's go into the gym, let's do some mobility. And then we started like no shoe snatching. And I think Norik probably snatched, no, I think he did 140. So 308 pounds, 2 reds and a green. I hit 110 kilos. But yeah, like when I was weightlifting, my strength was my lowest grade. My speed, coordination, and flexibility. When I caught a bounce with no shoes, I could touch my ass to the floor when I was lifting. Because I was just so thin, so mobile, and just like put your feet wide enough, let your ass swing through the middle. But yeah, 110 kilos, no foot snatch. It was a Thursday, it was a rest day. And I think this is important to point out too. Like this room pumped out some of the greatest lifters USA has seen. Like this is where the top in the world come to train. You look at the fucking platform, 2 sheets of plywood with a rubber hole cut in it. You know, like you don't need fancy equipment. You don't need the best of the best of the best of everything. It's like, look at that shit. That's the Olympic Training Center. There's fucking lawn chairs and plywood platforms. And it's like, no one complained. That's all anyone ever wanted and needed. So I love that shit. All right, guys, that's it for our trip down memory lane. Those are some great videos and pictures to reminisce on and story tell with. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see it again, let us know in the comments. If you have a specific clip that you want to hear my input on, let us know down in the comments. We'll catch you next time.